It's the final word, India, England daily for Westfield, London, Westfield, Stratford City, more extra, less ordinary. I'm Adam Collins. I'm back in Melbourne. I've crossed the world since the last time we spoke. Cam Ponsonby's with me. He's at the Rancho Relaxo. You can't spell relaxo without relax. And you've got news. You've just been at the press conference, the England press conference, and we know what the side will be for them. We should start with them because they've given us something today. They've given us some hard news. Hello, Cam. Welcome to Ranchi, a ground that I remember fondly from 2017. And tell us who's playing for England tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got a surprise selection. We have Robinson in for Mark Wood, which was expected. And then we have Shoaib Bashir in, which also was expected, but not for Rayan Ahmed, who has sat this one out. It means that Jimmy Anderson, at 41 years old, goes back-to-back, having bowled 1,000 overs in Rajkot only a matter of days ago. England, I think it's a good selection. And the reason I think it's a good selection is because they've thought about it and they've not been spooked by the pitch. The thinking was, the expectation was that they might opt for Dan Lawrence to come in place of Jimmy Anderson and lengthen the batting lineup in a kind of shootout style match of having more chances for someone to score 30 if it's going to be 200 plays 200 plays 150 plays 150. They've not gone down that road. Ben Stokes addressed that and said, as soon as you go down that line of thinking, you're overthinking it, you're putting too much thought into the occasion. Back your batters to bat, back your bowlers to bowl. And yeah, surprise selection from England, but one which seems to have come to with an element of precision.
Yeah, you can overthink these things when the pitch looks a certain way. And in Ranchi, there is form for this. I mentioned the 2017 trip. Where you're sat right now, I can tell with the pictures behind you, you're in one of the commentary boxes there. I rocked up 2 days before that test match, went to set up the commentary box, took some photos out the window, and we weren't allowed out in the middle on that tour for various reasons. And so that we couldn't actually see what the surface looked like. But from my photographs, it looked like rolled mud. Now, it wasn't. It was the impression we got. It was from the photographs that gave the impression that it was black and thus it was being prepared to be an absolute Bunsen. Didn't quite turn out that way when Cheteshwar Pujara batted for nearly 800 minutes for an unbeaten double century in the third innings of the match, or the second innings of the match, rather. It ended up being a really tense draw on the final day with Peter Hanscom and Sean Marsh batting it out. But I guess the point is that the impression of a pitch in India a couple of days before, and Harsha Bhogle always says this, judge a pitch in India when the match starts, not 2 days before. And it sounds like Ben Stokes has rocked up yesterday and seen cracking down, is it right, saying one side of the pitch and arrived at a certain conclusion? Yeah,
it's even in the last 24 hours, we had Stokes and Pope using the word interesting with their eyebrows raised, and what they actually meant was shit. Like there was the most obvious thesaurus of a synonym that you'll ever come across. But then Stokes said they had another look at it today, and it's looking a bit more quote unquote normal.
Right.
Yeah, I think Ranchi has a history of living to deceive. There's been 2 test matches here, and both of them have kind of had the expectation that it's going to be spinning tracks from very early on, and on neither occasion has that turned out to be true. There is a chance that happens here again. You've got to bear in mind, if 50% of the wicket, and it's lengthways when people are dividing this wicket in half, so if one half of the wicket is bad or going to be difficult, it also means the other side of the wicket is going to be absolutely fine. And that side of the wicket is right arm over to right-handed batters from one end. So we could have quite a conventional test match in some respects. England have gone with Shoaib Bashir over Rayan Ahmed. Once again, their favourite thing at the moment, release points. They think that because of just the nature of the surface, they're going to get more out of Shoaib Bashir, even just despite being a third finger spinner in the 11, than they would with Rayan Ahmed, kind of with his variations and his googlies. And that is a kind of nod towards the pitch. It shows that they're feeling confident in their batting lineup as well, because they are losing some batting there. Rayan Ahmed is obviously a stronger batter than Shoaib Bashir. Tom Hartley's going to get bumped up to number 8, which he's batted very well this series, but it's probably one higher than England would have him in an ideal world. And so that follows on. Ollie Robinson at 9 is a very capable batter, or was. I think he averages about. Well, he scored a first-class century on his debut, debut. Went well for England at the start of his batting career, and then has managed to do a bit of a Jofra Archer and never scored another run. So there is a bit of a tail there, which could be a problem if kind of you're needing 50 runs with 4 wickets left in hand. But I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, look, I don't want to just to go back to what I said before about the track. It may well be that it is designed to spin quickly from minute one, and the fact that Jasprit Bumrah was being rested. If you're going to do it in any Test match, it would be this one.
Absolutely.
I mean, another one of those war stories from 2017. I remember charging into the chief executive's office with my dictaphone, almost insisting on speaking to the curator, and we did. And the curator confirmed to us that the BCCI centrally had an input on signing off on the pitch, which prompted the headlines that the BCCI sanctioned pitch stitch up at Ranchi and so on. But, if it turns out, that's all well and truly in the past, 7 years ago now. But I suppose if it does turn out that it is ragging from minute one and it is more kind of the indoor pitch from 12 months ago, I don't think it's the craziest idea to extend the batting lineup. Like, this is where Akshar Patel might come into the conversation as well. Maybe not quite so much for his bowling. It can often be the case that you can overdo it with spinners when you've got a pitch that's favourable. Last year, Jadeja and Ashwin did all the bowling, not so much Akshar. But him batting at 8 or indeed even 9 gives them extra stability. So, I mean, we have got no real read yet, do we, on the Indian 11, other than the fact that all signs point towards poor old Patidar, who struggled and had 2 dreadful dismissals last week, but keeping his spot, not being jettisoned.
Yeah, I think Akshar Patel, if India brought him in, it's just like a 4th scoop of ice cream. It's unnecessary. It's too much. What is he going to provide you that you're not getting from Jadeja, Ashwin and Kuldeep Yadav? They're we don't have anything 100% confirmed, but the feeling is that Mukesh Kumar comes in for Jasprit Bumrah in a straight swap and Patidar keeps his place, basically because they're this guy's scored a decade's worth of domestic runs. To bid him off after 2 horror shots, after one horrible match, there's no justice in that. And to be honest, when you combine India doing sensible selection and England doing sensible selection, it's really quite dull. Would have quite liked them both to do mental selections, brought Dan Lawrence in, brought Padikkal in straight away just for something exciting to see. I keep on thinking this is really inappropriate, but with Jimmy Anderson, kind of him playing back-to-back again at 41, it's making me think back to the COVID times and it was don't see a 96-year-old granddad, you'll kill him. And it's he's going to fucking die anyway. You might as well just keep bowling him at 41. There's no point. What are you resting him for? It's going to be over soon, one way or the other. So give him a hug, give him a kiss, and roll him out and give him a bowl. It's going to be a really exciting Test match, I think, regardless of what happens. I think it feels like a 3.5 dayer. My main concern, I just want England to win because I just want it to go to Dharmashara at 2-2. I don't care who wins the series. I really don't. I know people might not believe me when I say that. I would prefer England to win because it would be more historic and that would be exciting. But just the stat that Will Macpherson from The Telegraph told me, it's 29 years since any Test match series went to the 5th match at 2-2. It doesn't happen. It's a generational thing, a generational opportunity, and I hope the coin falls in England's favour, and I hope the runs are scored, and I hope they win, and I hope we get to enjoy what's been such a great series for another 2 weeks when it's live.
Yeah, I'm with you, 2-2 going into the 5th at Dharamshala. If England find a way to get back, it's just so difficult to, in back-to-back Test matches, halt the momentum, and that's the challenge for England. That's what made me think they would make a selection change on the batting front. I think it's a pretty big call keeping Bairstow out of Nick Bairstow. Bairstow low in confidence. Bairstow out to spin last week with Kuldeep and missing it by a mile. I understand he's got credit in the bank, and I think you put up the stat about, or it might have been another one of our colleagues, maybe it wasn't you, but about his returns in the last few years, and I get all of that, but selection isn't done on spreadsheets. Cricket's not played in runs divided by wickets. It's selection is about judging in difficult circumstances who is best placed to make runs in the game ahead of you, not what they've done in the games just gone. And I think Lawrence for Bairstow is at least something that they would have talked about. Even if they've said they haven't talked about, they must have at least in their quieter moments thought, with Lawrence providing an option with the ball, and the guy who hasn't actually had an opportunity through the Bazball era is Lawrence, and he feels temperamentally well suited to it due to the way that he plays. He's quite an enterprising player, has got experience playing Test cricket in the subcontinent. So, look, Bairstow's got his chance, and that's not to say that he may not wake up tomorrow and rattle off a ton. He's that kind of personality, right? Whenever he's feeling like he's being written off, he has the ability to turn it around. So that might be part of the thinking as well, that when his back's against the wall, in the past he's been a very well, he's been an enigmatic character, to say the least. He's playing his 99th Test match this week at Ranchi as well, so nearing a milestone if he makes it to Dharamshala. So, yeah, England playing Anderson back to back, as you say. I think we got our YouTube title there. He's going to die anyway, just keep bowling him, as you put it so nicely before. And Ollie Robinson and Anderson bowling in tandem, which was the methodology they applied in Pakistan 14, 15 months ago, when you wouldn't think that would have been successful. And I know that the conditions are vastly different in Pakistan compared to India. Reverse swing was such a big part of that story. But so was short bowling. And they did a good job of that there, and roughing the ball up and playing the percentages, and also both of their accuracy. Anderson's point of difference for over 20 years has been that he can land the ball on a 10p piece, and so it is for Robinson with extra height as well. So, first time in the series he's going to be rolled out. And as for India, I suppose, well, we know Bumrah's not playing, but Mukesh Kumar, who we thought we may never see again in Test cricket, that harsh as that might sound, or at least not in this series. I'm probably exaggerating by saying never again in Test cricket. He may well play in Australia during the next away series when they're playing presumably three quicks and a couple of spinners. But it feels like he'll get that last spot.
Yeah, the Olympic lifeguard is back, and I could not be happier. He took 10 for 50 for his Ranchi Trophy team. It was a green seamer, so it's going to be a very different occasion to where he's bowling here. But yeah, everyone deserves like a second chance, and I hope he just bowls fine. I think there was some thought process that, aside from Bumrah, everyone has got whacked by this England team at some point over the last 18 months. Neil Wagner, I think, bowled one of the most expensive spells in history to England in Mount Maunganui, where they just kept bumping him, and Harry Brook kept on hooking him for six. So there isn't really any shame from Mukesh Kumar. I know we jest, or I jest about at his expense, but it will be, you're here for a reason. Like, if you're in the running to play a Test match for India, the chances are you're quite good at cricket. So I imagine he'll kind of revert to his mean and go okay. I think with England's team, what's good for them, I know we're going back to England here, but India just kind of, they seem more settled, and there's kind of less moving parts in their 11. So to talk about England again, what's good for them as well is that by going with two seamers, there'll be less temptation for Ben Stokes to risk his own fitness. He's had a really long bowl yesterday. He says he's pulled up very well today. My prediction had been that Bashir and Robinson came in for the two seamers, and then Stokes would operate as that second seamer if needed. I don't think doesn't really feel like it's going to happen anymore. Stokes said earlier on in the tour that India is a one seamer or two seamer option place. It's never three. Those were his words. I imagine that might change in Dharamshala when it's 10 degrees, but for the most part, that's the kind of parameters that they were operating within. But it still means you get to have the backup, because Ollie Robinson, this will be his first cricket match. First cricket match. That'll be a hell of a thing. Big call up from having never played before. He has not played a cricket match since July in the Ashes. And I think he did an interview with Vishant Tharaja a couple of months ago, but around November time. And he was like, this is the longest I've gone without playing a cricket match since I can remember, since I was a child. And we're now 2 or 3 months further on than that. So given his history, his lack of fitness history, to be more kind of on the nose about it, there's got to be some semblance of like concern that can he kind of be the leader of the attack and bowl these long spells that's required of him. There's no question about the fact he's put that work in. People are glowing in their endorsements of like the professional that Ollie Robinson is now compared to a year or two ago. He said himself that he felt like he'd let himself down a bit in the Ashes, that he'd left stuff out on the table, and that was kind of the biggest frustration, that he didn't quite give it his all. Combine that with 41-year-old Jimmy Anderson, you hope that he stays together. You've basically got three seamers who might break at any moment if any of them bowl. Yeah. But with having three of them, you give yourself a bit of a kind of margin for error. And as I say this, Ollie Robinson is marking out his run-up, and he's about to have a bowl here.
He may not have been playing cricket, but he's been playing plenty of golf and making plenty of podcasts. Yeah. Okay, Cam, let's just take a pause, then we'll move to our tour diary. Okay, our tour diary in the absence of the Hall of Fame the day before a Test match is brought to you by Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. Don't you hate pulling on a shirt that is 2 sizes too small? Now, imagine if that was every day of your life. Well, guess what? That's how it feels to be Chris Tremlett on the field. Every fibre holding together desperately against your sculptured physique as you pound the ball in short of a length. Off the field, you're staring yourself down, Patrick Bateman style after hours. This could be your life too. Don't worry, you haven't accidentally turned into the great cricketer. This is a bit of crossover work here from Shan. I like it. I didn't read the copy before I started reading it clearly. If you want a rig that'll sear itself of other people's memories like Chris Tremlett did, then download the PT Pods app today. There's the segue. Use the code Westfield and book your first hour in a private workout space for free. The season is just around the corner here in the UK, so start pumping iron now, and you can pump sixes all season long. Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City, get in those PT pods. The offer code is Westfield. Google more in all of the usual places. Cam, you and I will both be taking the cricket field throughout the English summer.
Absolutely.
So maybe we need to do some work in the pre-season. I had a bowl yesterday. I played against the other MCC, actually.
Of course, yeah.
At the Albert Ground. It was an absolute delight. And I'm playing
wickets?
on Saturday.
Any wickets?
Look, one wicket, but a pretty fucking good one. So we'll dine out off that.
Nice, that's what I like to hear.
Along.
Cool.
Yeah, playing again Saturday, playing in Wellington the day before the Test match next week. I can't stop playing
amazing.
cricket. Love it. Right, so Cam, to a diary from you, please. I gather it's a bit rainy in Ranchi. I have great memories of the aeroplane restaurant there and that strip that I compared in an article to the Las Vegas strip from memory. What are your first or your early impressions of being in MS Dhoni's hometown?
Well, first of all, I want to find where this aeroplane restaurant is. I've not been aware of this. We obviously were in Rajkot, which was a dry state, and I had a horrible correlation moment where for the first time on the tour last week, I felt pretty much close to 100%. And that's not a thing on India. Like, I was a bit poorly coming out here, couldn't shake it, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And I said to Vish, I went, mate, it's brilliant. Like, I feel the best I felt all trip. He went, yeah, because you haven't had a fucking drink for a week. And I was like, oh, no. Like, I don't want that to be such a direct thing. So we went out, we went to a lovely rooftop bar yesterday called Mocha. Had a couple beers. It was a really nice place, actually. The one thing, it's the first time I've come across these beers, and I was warned about them, and I was aware of them when on the label it says 5 to 8% alcohol, and it's just like the Kingfisher lottery, and I cannot be dealing with that. I'm a big ABV watcher. I don't like things above 4%, to be honest. I'm a very sensible man, and so I'm kind of navigating the alcohol percentage highways and going, I can't. If you have 2 8% pints, that's the end of the evening and tomorrow.
And the other thing you can do at Ranchi, I'm not sure if you detected this on the way to the ground today, you can run back. It's a nice route to walk or run back to your hotel in the middle of town. I assume you're staying somewhere quite central?
Yeah, it's a 12k run now. I don't think I'm going to do that.
5k's back to town from the Ranchi ground. So
okay, do you know what that sounds like? It sounds like your hotel was 7 kilometres closer to the ground than my one. So there we go.
No, I think from there it was Peter Lawler who was running back and forth each day when we were there in 17.
Lovely.
Anyway, I hope you enjoy a great week. And as we said off the top, that it's a competitive Test match. India doing so well last week to thrash England. Can they bounce back with their reconfigured attack against the stability of India? Will the pitch turn square, or will it go to sleep like it did in 17? Cannot wait to find out. We'll have daily programs every evening at Stumps. Cam will be with Daniel Norcross on days 1 and 2. You'll be with me on days 3 and 4. And day 5 will work out when we get there as and when, if required. Not many day 5s in India. We're here for Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City, who we love. More extra, less ordinary. Cam, you get a good night's sleep. We'll chat tomorrow.